Hey, what's going on, guys? Clean back here with another Mordhau tutorial. Today I'm going to be giving you guys a little bit more of an in-depth look on dragging and excelling your attacks while also incorporating footwork. Dragging and excelling is most effective while tying it together with footwork, because depending on where you are positioning yourself against your opponent, that's going to actually drastically affect the actual effectiveness of your drag or your excel. Today I have two very experienced players with me who have thousands of hours in Shiv, as well as a couple thousand hours in Mordhau itself, and they're going to demonstrate some very nice drags and excels for you guys while also incorporating that footwork. So let's get into it. So here we have our two demonstrators, and they're basically going to show us a couple things here. First off, the one attacking, he's just going to be doing a regular drag without any footwork. You can see the attack arc here, how he's landing at the very end of the attack arc. Now he's going to put himself into a position where his attack will look like an excel, but he's actually going to drag it instead. So as you're noticing, what he's doing is he's actually putting himself on his opponent's right side, his left side, which is the side that you'd normally want to excel on, and at last second, before he actually releases that attack, he decides to drag it. The best way to sell your drags in this game is to make them look like an excel, and that's exactly what he was doing. So now our demonstrators here are going to show off a couple basic excels, then excels with footwork. As you can see, the excel here is just normally just turning in, doing the normal excel while the opponent is directly in front of him. Now what he's going to do is he's actually going to cut his opponent off on the opponent's right side, reducing the space at which that excel can actually land, making it actually a lot faster. As you can notice right here, they're basically almost shoulder to shoulder. This is the position you want to be in when you're doing slash excels. You want to incorporate your footwork and basically cut your opponent on his left or right side depending on your horizontal slash. We'll get into vertical and uppercuts here in a bit. But that is basically the idea on how to properly do an excel that is a horizontal slash, and where you exactly want to position yourself against your opponent in order to make it just a bit faster than it would be if you're just standing in front of them. So now we're going to move on to uppercut excels. Essentially, it's the same thing as horizontal slashes. He's basically going to put himself in the same spot and do the uppercut. It's kind of the same concept here, but it's just the attack is landing kind of at a different angle. As you can see, they're still shoulder to shoulder, and this is where you want to try and put yourself when you want to do an uppercut excel from either side. So now what our demonstrators are going to do here is they're going to show us an example of an uppercut drag. Depending on the weapon you're using, it'll actually affect its effectiveness. The maul is actually pretty effective at the uppercut drags. However, doing a drag from the uppercut is actually much better off of a riposte, and we're going to show you exactly how to do that. Alright, now our demonstrators here are going to show us what a uppercut drag would be off of the riposte. Keep in mind, doing uppercut drags, excels, horizontal slashes, excels are always going to be better off the riposte because the attack is going to be faster and the attack arc is quite a bit different. As you can see here, it's extremely effective. What you noticed Mordhau doing there is he basically took his left shoulder, put it straight in front of his opponent, and caught him at the very end of the downswing. Drags from the uppercut slash can be very different depending on the weapon you're using because they all have different arcs. The maul uppercuts are actually very effective. Axes as well, same thing with the war axe, and as well as the messer, I would say, are very, very good. And depending how long your weapon is, say maybe you have a halberd or a Zweihander, those can also be very effective, especially off of ripostes. So now our demonstrators here are going to show us overhead excels. These are quite simple, and they don't really require a whole bunch of footwork. However, you want to make sure that you're looking down and you're immediately putting that excel down towards somebody. It can be a little bit helpful to kind of put yourself off to the left or right of your opponent, depending on which side you're going to do that overhead excel. However, for the most part, these are actually the ones that the one excel that doesn't really require much footwork, but again, these are extremely effective, and depending on the weapon you're using, they can be extremely fast, especially on the battle axe or the war axe. Now our demonstrators here are going to show us how to do an overhead drag. Again, same thing with the excel. It doesn't really require a bunch of footwork, but you do have to make sure you're dragging right. And I just kind of wanted to throw this in the video so that you guys can get a good visual representation of the animations when somebody's doing an overhead drag. Again, these are really good. And the best way to do an overhead drag, just like the horizontal slashes, is to make it look like it's going to be an excel. As you can see, what Mordhau is doing here is he's actually looking at the ground, and as soon as the attack starts, he's immediately starting his drag and dragging his mouse as hard as he can in order to sell that drag as best as he can. Because again, at the end of the day, the best kind of drags out there, they look like they're going to be excels first. And now lastly, we're going to show you stab dragging. Stab dragging is actually very effective, and I have to show you this from the first person view because it's actually a lot more easy to understand. But basically what you want to do is you want to start around your opponent, and you can basically drag around. Or what you can do is pull like down towards the angle of the stab and like drag back into your opponent. There's a lot of ways you can drag stabs, but the concept basically is this right here. You start the stab and then you drag it into the opponent as the attack is happening, because there's about a half a second to where the attack stab will deal damage, and the dragging can be very effective, as you can see. And that about wraps it up. If you guys have any tutorial videos that you guys would like to see me make, please comment below and let me know. Hopefully this video was helpful, and until next time, guys, I'll see you next time out there on the battlefield of Mordhau, and hopefully you guys are dragging and excelling right, goddammit. All right, peace.